It's June 25th, 2022. So um I'm sitting here. I was watching Westworld, and as I watched the episode, it reminds me of what I saw yesterday, Friday, in real world, real time, which is takes place in Florida, which is on the northeast coast of North America. Apparently there was a they could explain it. It's just that they don't. A partial condo collapse. And there was this white girl, her parents, who were trapped in the rubble. She lost her father. It took, however long for her to recover in the hospital. Um, and then the psychology of this land is I should just be grateful and thankful that I survived. Meanwhile, in other news, the other part of that story is that there's some developer from Dubai that there was some class action suit. There was some number put on it. And now, whatever. And whatever. But the storyline follows very closely this storyline going on inside of Westworld in like a color matches up, like really, just saying. I mean, like, I don't understand why it's almost like in nuclear science terms, it's almost like sound wave frequency at such an obnoxious hertz that and capacity that the human body doesn't necessarily pick up on the nuances. I mean, it does, but they're not equipped enough with education to know what the symptoms are. And like in my case, I wouldn't even know where to report it. But I have it going on in Bayside. And it's like targeted. And then all of a sudden there's this partial collapse. But you don't necessarily need like howitzers and big shell casings, but they're still bringing down by like advanced technology, or they have the capability of doing it. Who knows if that's what they really used, but if you've got an instability in density and you've been able to disrupt the particles inside the walls at like bion level, BION. I wrote a whole paper on that, a whole essay on that myself. And I was in Starbucks. Somebody was filming me while I was there. Between the visible and the invisible realm of scientific. It's just interesting in like I don't know, but I can see it. I hear it. And then I worry about what the hell is this guy from the planning department in Dubai going to do in Florida? What are they going to build, and who is going to be allowed to invest or purchase these things? What bodies will be consuming this space, considering that there's been a whole lot of reshuffling, and I don't really see a benefit in any of this.
Is expected to attend a ceremony later this morning, and while the day certainly will be filled with grief, a survivor story is also giving hope.
A survivor story is giving hope. So this is what they're claiming are real life events. There's a real girl. She really got hurt. She really got pulled down in the rubble. Just like really at this point, they're saying that Ukraine is having real situational building knockdowns and some like grand scale demolition that they like put under whatever. And then there's like this real acknowledgement in like bone collectors that have some public platform to put some storyline together of what they've collected for perhaps a legalized motion of some sort. I'm not quite sure, especially if a pattern starts emerging with just how disruptive a certain group can be, almost like tracking and hunting the unsuspecting.
Something's going on here. You gotta get us out of here. Okay, you're in your apartment right now? Yes, but half the building's gone.
From the pile of crumbled concrete and steel that minutes earlier was Champlain Tower South, only 3 people emerged alive. Among them, 16-year-old Devin Gonzalez.
I remember falling for a brief second, yeah. And then I just blacked out.
Good job.
Miami CBS station WFOR has for months followed Devin's physical and emotional recovery, and that of her mother Angela, who also was rescued from the rubble.
When I see videos of the collapse, it's still shocking for me because my mind just always goes to how did we even survive that?
Waking up to the building's rumbling.
That's how I feel in this unrest in the American colonies and the most revolting change of whatever. While all of my dreams and hopes have been taken and put aside, and somebody else has pursued something else, and I don't know how they get away with anything.
Angela grabbed Devin and believes to have run towards the unit's front door when the floor split in half, causing them to fall more than 60 feet onto the debris. Devin's father, Edgar, would not survive.
I'm pretty sure he would give me like words of encouragement, but I don't know. Go a little bit faster.
Devin's injuries included a compound leg fracture.
6. Good.
Hope has come in the drive of returning to the sport she loves, volleyball, step by step,
Good.
hop by hop.
From like a traumatic perspective, it's like I didn't lose everything.
It's a bright spot in what has otherwise been a painful year, with victims' families still waiting to find out exactly what caused the collapse. Federal investigators are examining concrete slabs and columns, but say a full report may not be complete until 2024. And after initially failing to pass a condo safety law, Florida lawmakers did so during a special session last month. The law requires condo associations to set aside money for repairs, and certain condo buildings to be inspected and recertified at 30 years old.
Now, in certain communities, is that called reparations and legal statute? I'm just curious because, I mean, rearrange the first class, second class, no class thing, and it just tells a whole different story.
Old, or 25 years if they are within 3 miles of the coast. State Senator Jason Pizzo, who represents the area, pushed for the law, but says the state must now devote resources and funding to make it work.
A lot of my colleagues are not going to get any votes out of this. There really is no intrinsic value to it other than being the right thing to do for life safety.
A judge has now finalized a $1 billion settlement for families who own condos here. There are still disagreements about where a permanent memorial should go and what should happen to the site, but it is set to be sold to a developer from Dubai.
A developer from Dubai. Oh my gosh, look at that. And now here's the reference in like Hollywood schematics. It's Westworld. It's season 3, episode 3.
Appears we have a leak, Charlotte.
If you're referring to...
And it's so interesting at the Harry Potters and like Gryffindor and the Four Houses and Jason Peter Romer 1975 having the Harry Potter scar right on his forehead after I never wanted to be with him, and I get a call that he's in a New York City hospital and have to go there and collect him after he went out with, NYPD. That's who he was out with that night. What a surprise.
buyout, don't. I'm handling it.
The problem goes beyond a hostile buyout. Kiwi's in the process of inventorying all the park's assets. We're missing host control units. Most were low-level side narratives, but it doesn't matter.
Maeve Malay. Our probe was stolen.
Whoever stole the HCUs had admin-level access to the park. Security systems on site are still heavily damaged. This was an inside job, from the top of the food chain.
They're worried and trying to invent or construct this hostile takeover from elsewhere. But again, it's in a mixed bag of stuff that seems to be flying problems into everybody's territory. Schooling, industry, manufacturing.
There's a mole in Delos. Chances are this mole has been feeding information to our buyer.
Which is why I'm talking to you, Charlotte. You know everything that goes on in this place.
You're right.
Now, between a mole of energy and a jewel of energy, and how little importance they've allowed me to obtain in vernacular and vocalization. These words they choose in script and unscripted are just so curious.
Right. I know everything. Like where you were while the rest of us were being butchered.
Look, given all the bloodshed in Westwood, we cannot afford to have any of our assets unaccounted for. We need to find them and destroy them.
Where the fuck are you? I can't wait any longer. I'm coming to you.
Now, let's go back to like the real world, because that's just storyboard of what are the kids up to? Like, what did they do now? Now, here they show a piece in the real world. That's Saturday morning, see the BS. And they go to a fast food takeout window. Then they go through like some of the daily effects, like gas prices and whatever. It's a journalist and then it's an economist, and they're both seated in the same car, and it takes place in the local area in Century 20, decade 2, second year.
On economists.
Right on time.
Hey, man.
Good
How
to see
doing?
you. Thanks for doing this.
So we pulled him away from his podcast, What's Your Problem, to take a road trip exploring America's problem with inflation.
It's journalists in cars getting expensive stuff.
I'm ready. Let's buy everything.
Everything, it seems like, is getting more expensive.
A Whopper with a medium fry and an Impossible Whopper with a medium fry.
2326 drive up, please.
Okay, thank you.
Good thing I didn't order a Coke, huh?
Two of the biggest categories jumping in price.
Thank you.
Food and fuel.
I mean, gas is incredibly expensive.
It's extraordinary. It's gone up so much, so fast. And you know, one of the things about gas is...
But the money mechanics don't work. Like the salary in order to afford one meal at 23 something for 2 people, and the $6.99 to fuel the car to get to the work that has now been placed so far out of the way just so there could be a fuel industry, and just so there could be a car industry, and just so there could be a potential for making money for someone that nobody has a face, so nobody really knows who.
You just see it, right? Like it's literally in your face. You know, there's a great big sign, and then you start pumping it and you watch the numbers go up. So it's like extra painful.
And it's expensive because of the war in Ukraine.
Largely, right? Yeah, I mean...
That's what they blame it on. War in Ukraine. Where do the kids come up with this crazy jargon?
Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia's a huge supplier of oil. You know, people aren't buying as much oil from Russia, so that's a big part of it.
Add to that another supply problem: refining capacity lost during the pandemic hasn't fully recovered.
I have no idea about this refining capacity and whatever. And here's the other real fun fact. They're speaking of, now, I thought that I heard that the big ships, like the ones built, that the steam fitters, when New York was age appropriate and on par with what was expected at far, far and away, they said in the Washington, D.C. area, which is in the state of Maryland, or borderline Virginia, I don't want to get whatever and whatever, they have a national American History Museum. So now it's a nationally approved facility, and it talks about American history, where I learned about the electricity and about some of the steamships. In that, whatever, that does not charge a fee to go in, unlike in New York, where there's a fee to do everything. The one in Washington, D.C., it said something about it was nuclear powered steam or ships or whatever. So now that's really curious, because they're talking here that it's fueled as if it's fueled by like ethanol products and burning combustible alcohol and whatever else, peat moss or whatever oil is mixed in with it.
The price of oil, the price of gas, is an input into almost everything, right? You make something in China, you got to get it to the U.S. You got to buy fuel in a real...
So they have to buy fuel, this China that he speaks of. So this is curious, because who's selling China nuclear ships and the nuclear patented process, or selling them a ship that then they reverse engineered? Who would do such a thing? And why would they continue to allow this process to go on if all it's going to do in the local area is cause shipping and containment issues, supply chain issues, a migratory issue, a learning facility issue, a health issue, a concentration issue, a weather issue, a technology issue, and all the other things that I couldn't possibly keep up with in one whatever life frame?
Really simple way, when the price of gas goes up, it pushes up the price of everything else.
But it's not just fuel. The supply of lots of things has struggled to rebound after the pandemic, from microchips to potato chips.
But groceries are another one.
Yeah, huge, huge. And obviously really important, right? Like not something people can not buy.
At Morton Williams Supermarket in New York City, manager Douglas McKinley told us he's never had so much trouble placing orders.
What's hard to stock?
It's across the board. Almost every vendor has an issue.
Is there baby formula on the shelves right now?
No, we don't. We haven't been able to get that.
Now, this is what I remember the local grocer looking like, acting like, and calling itself a North American. It is not what was in my ballet class in the 3 ratio to my 1, trying to, like, I don't know. I can't really say. But it becomes really difficult.
In just a year, eggs here have almost doubled.
And why are they so much?
Because of the bird flu.
But of all this.
Okay, so here are the excuses that someone's giving and releasing to the public. There's something called a bird flu, so eggs went up. Because nobody really knows. I'm like sitting here. Why did gas go up? Oh, because of the war in Ukraine. Makes no sense. I mean, like, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Just curious.
The supply issues contributing to inflation.
I mean, I will say 350 seems like.
And now this is a really scary, like this. This is in the food store now. You just go to your local grocer and that's what's working. And it's like, is there any way around this? Or do you have to put more gas in the car and find a different neighborhood now?
Seems like a lot for a bag of pretzels.
None are as important to economists as the supply of workers. Right now, for every American looking for a job, there are 2 job openings.
So unemployment is at this historic low now, right? And sort of weirdly, that's a big part of the reason inflation is so high.
It can be hard.
This part is completely, for me, false. It's on false predicate. I walked up, I took a video at the local post office in my local area where my feet can carry me without needing an automobile or a car, without needing fuel and gas, where my feet can carry me so I can get a position and earn money or currency in this disgusting situation. And there's posters here that say that the U.S. Post Office is hiring. I went to my local post office. I took a copy of I put the flag and I put the front of the building just so, and the memorial plaque. I didn't highlight that, but I know the name and I mentioned it.
Hard to grasp at first, but low unemployment is both good for individuals.
Now, here it is. But it's not in the window where the pedestrians that don't have a job can see it. It's not visible. So who are they catering to? U.S. Post Office? Tractor trailer operator, rural carriers, rural associated relief, and city carrier assistant. That's what they're hiring for.
And sometimes problematic for the economy because it means employers have to outbid each other for the few available workers.
And what shops like this, what lots of businesses have to do is raise wages, right? And the way they can afford to raise wages is by passing the cost on to you, by raising the price.
I don't see this argument in action, in motion. It doesn't make sense to me. what I see is the price gouging of like they're raising prices, especially at the gas pumps. It's benefiting only the service station, who then sends money to either outside countrymen, or they're bringing people here and supporting other people's children. It seems to be like this real conundrum that nobody seems to be really addressing in the front window. Star 1978, Star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, its Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and its Bayside station, Bayside, New York, 11361.